If you are 300 pounds, 250 pounds, whatever it is for your body, that's a lot of weight. Please give yourself grace. You do not need to Biggest Loser. All of the people on the show were injured, like pretty bad. So let's be gentle with your body and do what your body can do. One of my friends from the Biggest Loser, he had an injury. What he did was put weights in his arms and punch, and he worked those arms. This is all great for your metabolism. It's great for your blood sugar. And overall, they're showing if you want to come off of this, you need to build muscle.
Today's episode is brought to you by my free community found at radicallyhealthy.com, where you'll get support in adding things like a GLP-1 to your meaty movement toolbox so you can look and feel your best. Hope to see you there.
Hi, my name is Adrienne. If you're new here, I have been struggling with obesity, weight issues, autoimmune conditions pretty much my whole life. And it wasn't until recently when I coupled GLP-1 with some carnivore and some movement that the pieces have really come together for me. Prior to that, I tried everything from being on The Biggest Loser to Atkins to low carb to gastric bypass to running half marathons and restricting my food, and nothing seemed to stick until I found this. So today we're going to go into, you've decided that you want to look into this. Where do you even start and what do we do next? Okay. So first thing I want to say, of course, is I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice, blah, 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 blah. But I would love to inspire you to get educated so you can arm yourself and help yourself to ensure that you're working with people who are trusted and who can help you along this journey, because unfortunately, there's a lot of practitioners out there who are not well informed and people don't feel well. But for the ones who are informed, so keep yourself informed as well, you really can make this a tool in your toolbox that can change your life. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, okay, so first thing I would do, obviously, is join radicallyhealthy.com. There's a free community there. There's also a private community. But in the free community, lots of resources, lots of community, lots of frequently asked questions. There's also once a month or once every 2 months, there is a video call for free for everyone in there. But a lot of stuff is shared in that free community. It is an open speech community. We do also have a Facebook group. However, many of the Facebook groups, we are not allowed to talk about compounding, any medical advice, anything could be construed as medical advice. And so groups are being shut down constantly over there. So radicallyhealthy.com, just to get started. So the next thing I would do would be to go to my playlists. I have one called GLP-1 Experts. It used to be called Doctors, but there's a couple experts in there who have done so much research that they are so unbelievably helpful, but they're not doctors. But most of the professionals in that playlist are doctors. And the playlist is just amazing. To this day, I will go back and replay some of those and remember, oh yeah, that's why I did this. It's a lot more than just how, it's also the why. Why did we add this tool and how does the tool work? How do we avoid side effects? How could we potentially, what do we look for to help us along this journey? How do we preserve muscle? There's a lot of general how and what in those videos. So I highly suggest that playlist. It's not about me. It's actual experts out there who've done a lot of research into what these actually are, which people don't realize what they actually are because we see things out there in the community that lead us to believe these are toxic appetite suppressant drugs, just like every other toxic appetite suppressant drug that's ever been. That's not what this is at all. So arm yourself with knowledge. Check out that playlist. If you're there and you really like personal stories as well, check out my playlist, which was called something like GLP-1 Experience, where I just share what my experience with GLP-1 has been. My husband also shares his experiences. We've gone live several times and we will again in the future. So that's where I would start to arm yourself with some information, are those two playlists. And I will be continually adding my favorites to those playlists as I continue to see great stuff out there. To be honest, it's really hard to find. If you just go into your search bar, it's going to pop you 3-minute random news articles that mean nothing to you. They don't help you in any way. It's very difficult to break the algorithm and start getting those information. Since we're there, I'm just going to tell you some of my favorite channels that just, I don't know about you, but I love my daily touch-in. So some of my favorite daily touch-in channels would be The Downsized, Dave on the Pen, Candace the Tea of GOP, There's a gal named Brittany, Madison Loethen, Loethen. She's a great one. Those are some of my favorites right now that I do. Now, as far as doctors, I love Dr. Tina Moore, Dr. Amy Horniman, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, and I love Mind Pump. And what's great about Mind Pump is like, guys, the GLP-1 is just one tool in your toolbox. You really, if you want this to be more than just the next fad diet you were on, you need to couple it with more, okay? And the Mind Pump guys, they are all about all of the other things. What I love about them too is that they've worked with enough people that they're not just bros. They actually have seen their clients struggle. They themselves, some of them have autoimmune conditions that they're battling. So it's not just, hey, go to the gym, pump some metal, and they really do understand what's going on. I love those guys. It's on my vision board for them to have me on their show someday. Okay, so arm yourself with knowledge. Check out those playlists, okay? And start breaking your YouTube algorithm to give you the good stuff, and it takes some time. Another great place for bad information as well as some good is TikTok. I had never been on that platform before until GLP-1, and the good was that's where a lot of transformations are. I was able to find transformation reels, and that really, I needed some work mentally to say this was actually going to work because nothing else has ever stuck, and I have tried it all. So I needed some mental rework to see other people who it's worked for. So I was able to find that on TikTok. Now, you can also find a lot of bad information on TikTok. Okay, so next thing you want to do is a really good idea is to have your labs drawn before you start a GLP-1. There are so many metrics you can't feel, but we can see in your blood work. So here are some things I suggest people have done. Ferritin, ApoA1, homocysteine, ApoB, the ApoB-ApoA1 ratio, vitamin D, LDL, A1C, HDL, insulin, cholesterol ratio, triglycerides, FSH. Then you want your TG-HDL ratio, estradiol, cortisol, TSH. Let's not end it there. Let's get the T3 reverse, the T3 free, the T4. And you want the two different thyroid antibodies, the TPO and the THG, I think they are, the thyroglobulin antibodies, and some B12. That's where I would start. Get some labs. If you can get more than that, get more than that, because it's just good to have. There's way more going on here than just appetite suppression. Your hormones are actually going to start regulating a little bit better behind the scene, which is going to allow some of these things to get better. And it's just really reassuring to see those things. Another thing I would do, if you can, I highly, I cannot state it enough, get a DEXA scan. For me, that requires driving 2.5 hours to a big city, but I did it. And I'm glad I did, because you want to monitor and make sure the things you're doing are enough to preserve your muscle and your bone. So get that DEXA. I suggest taking before and after pictures. I know it is so cringy. Take a video too, because you can always grab pictures from the video of yourself holding out your arms, the front, the back, the side, the whole thing, the flexing. Be sure that you will not regret taking your before and afters. And another one to do is an app called Me 360. You spell that out. I believe it's free, but they've been changing a lot of things. And that actually gives pretty amazing measurements. And then as you go, you can do side by sides, and it takes a caricature, a sketch of the outline of your body. And you can do side by sides, and you can see the difference when you can't always see or feel it yourself. So when you do these Me 360s, you can see the difference. Another thing I would do is download the app called Shotzi. This is an app where you can track your shots, your different symptoms, your different victories. And it's just a really good idea to be tracking that, because we actually don't know what the best dosing strategy is for you. You are going to have to track. Your doctor also can give you some ideas, but they're also not going to know how your body's going to react. Some people feel better if they split their dose and they take it in 3. Some people feel better if they take it every 5 days. Some people feel better if they take a really low dose. Some people feel better when they take a high dose. We don't know but the best thing you can do is track all the metrics and figure out what the best dose for you is. Okay, so how do we know which GLP-1 to even go on? Okay, so first we're going to go into the natural ones. I was recently listening to a podcast from Dr. Tina Moore on CaloCurb. I'm probably saying that wrong, CaloCurb. And it seems that it does boost your natural GLP. My thing is, everything going through the gut may not ever leave the gut and get as saturated into the bloodstream. So when we're injecting GLP-1, it's hitting all over our body. If we're taking something oral, it may only activate things that are in the gut, which we are activating when we eat food. So although you could absolutely give it a try, it is not the end of the world to try berberine, allulose, CaloCurb, those Unamate tea. You can try them. But to be honest, I had a huge GLP-1 burst when I just went carnivore. We've all heard of Ozempic. There's a reason that it became such a big name, because it is such a successful product. So don't poo-hoo on it. It has been successful for many people. When you're deciding which one to start with, you can also put that not only has it been successful for millions of people, but it is also more affordable. Okay, so when I go into the providers that I suggest, keep in mind this is going to be the most affordable and also very successful. Some people would say on a scale of 1 to 10 that semaglutide is a 6. It's very, very effective. Some people have reported a lot of side effects. The more metabolically challenged you are, it seems like it isn't enough for people who are highly metabolically challenged. So then would be the next one, which is tirzepatide Zepbound Mounjaro. This one has GLP plus GIP. And so between the two, it is additionally reducing your inflammation, getting the hormones to communicate, because we've got an added one in there, getting communication going, stimulating it to work. It has less side effects. People have more success on it. Yeah, so that is actually the one that I've been with the whole time, but it is more expensive. If it depends on what routes you're going, but it is more expensive. So you got to decide which one. Again, go into my playlist. Those practitioners go into what do they believe is this and that, and what are the pros and cons of each one. Once you do that, next would be find out if you have insurance coverage. Most people are going to have insurance coverage for diabetes. It is a lot tougher to get insurance coverage for name brand if you're there for all the other things. It can help with autoimmune, with people who are chronically inflamed. It can help people post bariatric surgery. It can help people who have a family history of Alzheimer's and cardiovascular disease. It can help with chronic pain. It can help with arthritis. If you're not in the diabetes bucket, now we're in a different bucket where it's very difficult to have insurance coverage. So, and when you go to your local practitioner, they honestly often do not know how to get this approved for anything except diabetes. And most of them don't even want to try. It's a complete pain in the butt. They will almost always deny the first request you send. And I've heard people who even have coverage that it can take them 3 months to get coverage. So this is a really big problem, the insurance coverage thing. So you could go to your local provider. I suggest going to a place like joinmochi.com, where they're submitting insurance pre-approvals all the time. They submit these all the time. So I would suggest going to like Join Mochi and having them submit it and see if they can get the approval for you. Okay, so what happens now you don't have insurance coverage? I'm going to give you what the current options are, but this is an ever-changing landscape, okay? So one thing you could do is go to like joinmochi.com, where at this time they have other options. If you use code 6XR0BB, I save 40. I love that. If you go with that company, everybody gets a coupon code. So that's what I love. You don't have to be some big, huge influencer to save money. And the money comes off of your subscription and can come partly off of your prescription. They obviously cannot give away free prescriptions. That would probably be illegal. So, but I love that we can all save by sharing this company. I also love about this company that they are working, to get you name brand if we can get you that. And if not, working on other options. They've openly this whole time been talking about, and this talk right here is probably going to get this video shut down, but they've been openly speaking for availability, access, and affordability. So I really like that company. We have another provider that we work with in my group, but you'll have to join radicallyhealthy.com because I do not want to bombard her. She specifically said she has room for some of the people in my group, and she gives our group a special discount. What's great about her is that she can also run your labs. What's really important in all these labs and stuff is that you are not substituting checking your hormones and your thyroid for this. This can help those things, but you want to make sure those are being checked as well. And her practice is excellent at thyroid and hormones. So come check out our group to get the information on that practice. It's a telehealth, all 50 states, a small telehealth that's just been amazing to most of us. I personally, that's who I'm working with right now to optimize my hormones and my thyroid. And I am truly getting better. My sleep scores have been finally improving and I'm starting to feel better. And we're working on getting the energy and the sex drive back and all the things, Sorry, Tyler, that I just said that out loud. Hopefully my in-laws are not watching this. Okay, so next you figure out who do you want to work with? And I'm going to give you a couple warnings about local people. Number one, I see practices all the time who will say, just assume you do not have insurance coverage, and then they will sell you their compounded medication and they will hand you syringes. And what that is them making you pay for a full vial, but only giving you part of it and then selling the next. I don't like that at all. I've also heard horrible things about that not being a legitimate product. Maybe it's research grade, maybe it's not as well tested, where when you go with both of the practices that I suggest, you are getting the biggest pharmacies or you're getting name brand. You are getting high level testing and product. And locally, we don't know that that's always what you're getting. You could go to a med spa. And what's great about that is having that local support, someone you can go to and talk to. But again, they're doing the pulse syringes out of one vial, charging you for the vial, splitting the vial between 6 people. So it's kind of a spendy route. However, I know a lot of people who that is what was most comfortable was having someone local to go to. Sometimes it can be intimidating to just go to your doctor's office because they'll tell you you don't need it or no, or I don't like that stuff because they just haven't researched it and they don't understand. And then they have a difficult time getting the product to you. And so they just don't even want to deal with it. So that's why sometimes people enjoy going the med spa route. But I suggest you just join us and it can be shipped right to your door, whether that's name brand or otherwise. Okay. So now you figured out you've got your supply, you've figured out which one you are on, you've done your research, you've got community support. Now what do we do? Okay, so here's my tips for getting started. I suggest people start low and go slow. Okay, so here's a telltale. I started out 183 pounds. My husband started out 286 pounds. I started out on 2.5 and it was fine. I started him out on 2.5 and it was toxic. It was way too much for him. We are totally different people. And so this is an example, like you would think pound for pound. That's how we've always looked at medication is it must be based on your weight. It must be based on your height. That is not what's going on here at all. So I suggest, so in his case, he had a really rough week because we started him thinking it was going to be. He ended up needing 1/3 of the starting dose. When we look at Dr. Boz, she told her patients, hey, you could start at half a dose. Some chose to start at a quarter dose. So, again, this isn't advice, but I'll just tell you what I've seen people do that's been really working. So some people start at a quarter of the starting dose. If they feel absolutely nothing, you wait at least 3 days. And of course, talk to your practitioner or, this is not medical advice and I am not giving you advice, but this is what people have done. Waited at least 3 days and then took just a little bit more and kind of waited it out. And then you knew week 2, when you're coming into week 2, you don't necessarily want to go up every single week in those first 4 weeks because it has depending on which one you're on. Semaglutide has a 7-day half-life. Tirzepatide has a 5-day half-life. Either way, you have some in your system when you go to take your next shot. So you're stacking on top of each shot. So we don't necessarily want to just zoom up, assuming that we need more. But I guess it depends on how low you start to get going. I'm not saying this very well. There's so many different things you could do, but one thing I want to say is absolutely under no circumstance would I ever exceed the standard starting dose. The standard starting dose for semaglutide, I think, is 0.25 per week for a whole month. The standard tirzepatide is 2.5 per week for a whole month. Start low, feel it out. You may need to go up, and you want to kind of go until you start peeing a lot because you're seeing the reduced inflammation. You don't really feel anything, but you just noticed at the end of the day that you didn't snack all day. It's a very weird thing. People will say, is this a placebo? Because at the right dose, it's not that your stomach hurts. It's not that you're nauseous. It's not that you feel anything at all. You just notice that you didn't snack all day. And then that's one of the signs that this is silently working and you're on a pretty good dose. What are signs you're on too much? If you're laying down and you're feeling acid reflux, that's not good. If you're super, super nauseous, if you look at meat and you're like, no, those are some signs you're on too much. If you're having side effects, really, you're probably on too much. You could certainly, you could talk to your practitioners again, or, join communities so you can see kind of maybe someone else has experienced what you're experiencing and how did they overcome it? What was the answer? I'm all about community, and I know we should be seeing our medical professionals, but I think that there's a lot of value in other people's experiences. And yeah, so be sure you're being monitored, be sure you're doing it, well, but also sometimes it helps. Like, for example, I would have never thought of when someone's having that acid reflux, hey, what really helped me was cutting down the spicy food. But someone said that. And then it realized, oh, yes, it does correlate to actually spicy fried foods. That's not necessarily something your doctor's going to tell you or know. So that's the support in the group. Okay, so start low, go slow. You will know when you've hit your therapeutic because you're tracking and you're watching. Okay, you want to make sure, here's some things that nobody wants to hear, but I want to say them, okay? We don't want to crank out. We don't want to malnourish ourselves. We want to be able to make sure we're eating enough meat, that we're preserving our muscle, we're nourishing our body. GLP-1 or not, if you undereat, your metabolism will have metabolic adaptation where it slows down. So you will see it all the time, people who will hit plateaus on a GLP and they just cannot get it to move despite basically eating nothing and moving their body. And that's because they have put their body into starvation mode. And we just don't want that to happen. In our private group, I created a meal plan. It is carnivore, but you could easily adjust it if you like plants and other foods, where you dip into a calorie deficit every single week, but then you come out every week to keep your metabolism moving. So because to lose weight, you do have to be in a calorie deficit. The plan is dairy-free and dairy, either one. It talks about like whether or not we drink coffee, whether, all the things. So we have that. And then the plan also comes with 2 workout plans per week. It can be either at home or in a gym. There's 2 different variations and reminders to drink all the other things that we're going to go through. So that's something you could do, is join our private community, print the journal, and just follow it. It has a batch cooking for each week. So you're not sitting there cooking recipes. It's like the simplest plan you've ever seen. You're going to have a lot of foods already in your home. And it also has a weekly grocery list. So that's something you can think of. But when you're dosing, you do not want to zonk out your appetite. You want to make sure you still have an appetite. Whether it's 6 months down the line or 3 years down the line, you are going to have an appetite again. The appetite suppressingness of it isn't as strong, I hear, 3 years down the line as it is the day you come on it and the first few months that you're on it. So you want to make sure that that's something you're not afraid of and that you can work with, but we also still want to have relief. We don't want inappropriate brain signaling. We want appropriate brain signaling. On the wrong dose, you will go all day and you'll hit 8 p.m. and you'll go, crap, I forgot to eat. Don't overdose yourself. The lower you stay, the better chance you have of keeping your muscle. And what I mean by low is different for you than Sally, than Jeff, than George, okay? And low for some people is going to be the 3rd level of the dosing schedule. What low is different for every person, to be clear, okay? But low is I can still totally eat my meals. I actually sometimes have to tell myself, oh, it's not time to eat yet, but it's not every 10 minutes, so you have control, but you can still eat. Okay, so What most doctors will never tell you is we talk about protein, but we mean complete protein. Complete protein typically comes from meat. When we're eating all these other supplements, they're often pretty inflammatory. They come with a lot of additives. They come with a lot of chemicals. It's not optimal. What's not optimal is constantly having liquid proteins. So those go right through your digestive system. Your digestive system wants to chew meat. It wants it to slowly move through it wants to break the nutrients down and have them. That is what you're going to have the most appropriate signaling to is actual food. So we want actual proteins most of the time. Have I ever eaten a Quest chip? Yes. Have I ever had a keto chow protein shake? Abso-freaking-lutely. They're delicious. But I primarily stick to actually chewing my meat and eating meat. When you eat meat, it's going to keep you on a lower dose because that moves slower through your digestive system. It doesn't trigger as many of the signals to your brain to go do the hunter-gatherer eating, the constant snacking and hunting for more of that. So eating your meat first is going to be such a great tool in this. And remembering to eat meat is a great tool. Can we have the other things? Absolutely, but we want to check, is it triggering? Are we able to control it? Is it causing food noise? Is it helping me here? You can absolutely have those foods. Maybe we need to put some boundaries around certain foods. Like, for example, I can only have popcorn if I go to the movie theater, which is covered in seed oil. So that was a bad example. I can only have pistachios if I'm at my parents' house. Because if we have pistachios in the house, I'm going to eat the whole bag because this GLP-1 shot does nothing for me. But you'll notice there were foods before that you struggled with that you no longer do. Like a good example would be for me is I now add some 0-calorie sweetener to my coffee as well. As you can notice, I've been drinking this all day and it's half empty. I can now control that. Where before I used to want to drink the whole pot and I wanted to add all the sweet. And then that sweet led me to want to have another sweet. And now it's like I take a sip here or there, but I'm kind of like, I got to wash it down. Okay. So prioritize complete proteins. People will say don't give numbers, but I don't care. I'm going to give you a number. I think women should have 120 grams of protein and men should have more than that. Okay, movement. We used to be running. We used to do the HIIT classes. We used to sweat. We used to Biggest Loser style. If it doesn't hurt, it's not working, right? No, please, no. Let's get some walks in. That is really good for your lymphatic system. Please do it outside as much as you can. Get that fresh air, touch the earth, get the sun. We need to get some walks in. Then also we need to do the weight lifting. And the weight lifting is actually more important than the walking. The weightlifting helps maintain that muscle, keep that muscle. The number one thing people say at the end of their journey, because so many people are getting to their goal weight and they're looking and going, I don't like how my body looks at all. I don't, but I actually love the way my body looks. So I don't do that to myself, but stretching my neck a little bit there. What they say is, I wish I would have done weightlifting the whole time. If you are 300 pounds, 250 pounds, whatever it is for your body, that's a lot of weight. Please give yourself grace. You do not need to Biggest Loser. All of the people on the show were injured on my season anyway. Everybody was injured and pretty significantly injured, like bursitis, like pretty bad. So let's be gentle with your body and do what your body can do. One of my friends from the Biggest Loser, he had an injury. What he did was put weights in his arms and punch. He just did that a lot and he worked those arms. This is all great for your metabolism. It's great for your blood sugar. And overall, they're showing if you want to come off of this, you need to build muscle. It builds more for you to burn and it builds better glucose control to have that muscle. So that is really important. Like I said, on the private community, there is and I'll have to switch it up every month because we don't want to do the same things every month. But in the printable journal is 2 days a week, either at home or at the gym. There's 2 different versions of the workouts for 2 days a week just to get you started. Like, what do we even do? Another suggestion of mine would be to download an app called Gymverse. There's a bunch of apps like this, but I mean, this is the one I downloaded. This isn't like a sales thing or anything like that. It's just what's cool about Gymverse is you can completely change your workout and you can document in your phone your reps and your sets, and it'll help you remember, hey, last time you did 110 pounds, we try 115. So I like apps like that can help you. I have talked to my group members about the classes because we've all done the classes. They get your heart rate up, but they often cause a really big cortisol problem. So I would actually like to try classes again, but I have to be strong to not do the pace of the class, to go my own pace. We are on an exercise. I'm going to listen to the form suggestions, but instead of doing 100 reps in a minute, I'm going to do 5. I'm going to do it slow. I'm not going to injure myself. I'm not going to raise my cortisol, but I love the setting. I love not having to think which exercises to do. I love the total body workout. I love the music. I love the motivation of being in a group. Now I can't leave. Everybody will see if you get up and leave versus when I'm doing one exercise at a time by myself. Nobody cares if I get up and leave. So there are benefits to those classes. Just be sure you are your own pace. You've decided whether you want to download an app, whether you want to take classes but do it your own pace, whether you want to join our community and print out some workouts that we're all doing. Either way, we just want you to move your body. And it doesn't have to be crazy, but it needs to be consistent. Like it needs to be at least a couple times a week that you are lifting muscles. And it doesn't have to cost money either. One option would be go to Planet Fitness. They have like a circuit. The deluxe Planet Fitness that includes all you want, tanning and massages, is $25 a month, and you can bring your spouse or your best friend. So I don't think that price is terrible. Or you could work at home and every single day do a 30-30-30. 30 sit-ups, 30 push-ups, 30 lunges, 30 squats, and a 1-minute plank. Every day do that, and you're going to tone. Is it as great as these big, huge machines that'll get you pushing heavy, heavy metal and building muscle? No, but it's something. You got to do something or you will not keep your muscle. Every single weight loss diet loses muscle, anywhere around 40 down to 8%, 8% being totally optimal. Very slow weight loss coupled with lots and lots of meat and lifting and a very low calorie deficit versus, 40% is we're barely eating, we're not exercising, we're losing a ton of muscle. You got to keep in mind, the more muscle you lose when you're done with this journey and you get to your goal, now you only have so much muscle to maintain your metabolism. You lose 50% of your glucose control and your muscles that burn energy every day, and you have to eat less just to maintain. So keeping your muscle is so important, especially if you ever want to come off this medication. I think that's why when we go the allopathic method, they don't require actual protein. They don't require you to build muscle. They don't even take a scan of your muscle. And so in the end, they don't care that you're in a position where you have to stay on this medication because otherwise you gain weight. Yeah. So please be sure to eat your protein and lift so that you are healthy when you're done with this. Very, very possible. Even if you're not perfect every single day, you still can, in the right circumstances, be so much healthier when you're at the end. In the wrong circumstances where you're overdosing yourself, you're malnourished, your organs are shutting down, your metabolism's shutting down, you have no muscle left, you're not in a good position. And that's what so many people are seeing today when they bahum these is that. And I don't think anybody wants to be in that position. They just didn't know necessarily any better and they didn't get good guidance. So this is why it's really important to check that expert list of podcast that I said, because you want to arm yourself and ensure that whomever you're working with, that they really are monitoring, directing, and helping you. On the insurance thing, I wish I would have said this before. There are these denials that can absolutely be fought. It's just you need to arm yourself to fight. So, for example, there are some insurance that require you to dose up. Well, what happens when you start getting sick? You need a provider who is going to document that you are not thriving on higher doses and fight for you to be on the dose that's best for your body. You might have insurance coverage. You do not have to just lay down and say, oh, I'm just going to be sick. There you can actually, and yeah, it takes a fight and finding a provider that will do that fight for you. Okay, so we're eating plenty of protein. We're getting in our movement. I want you to think of eating foods that fill you. Stick to foods that fill you. So if you're eating Quest chips and when you're done with the bag of Quest chips, you're still hungry, well, that's not a food that fills you. Whole foods seem to fill you, primarily meat, but also maybe plants, whole plants. Okay. So stick to foods that fill you and monitor which ones are not. So for me, that would be pistachios and popcorn. Those are not my everyday list. If I had those, it would need to be out and about. Okay. Stay hydrated. And this is no joke. I don't know. This really helps you reduce inflammation. You really want to stay hydrated. And I know this is unpopular, but almost every practitioner that's really dug into it suggests that you add electrolytes to your water. And you'll hear people getting sick and having these symptoms. And what it turned out to be was that they had an electrolyte imbalance. They had depleted their electrolytes. There's something about this medication, these peptides, that you do want to be taking electrolytes. So let's say you don't like mixing things in your water, you don't want to buy anything, like we need to be adding more mineral salt to our food. People like Redmond's, people like the pink salt, the Himalayan salt, there's a different salts you can use, but ensure you are getting your minerals. What I like to do is use Keto Chow's Coco Loco. And have you even heard of this Keto Chow? Hardly anybody has, which is crazy. The top name brands that I'm not going to name because they're great companies, they have a lot of maltodextrin in them. Both of them. Both of the biggest companies, and anything you'll buy at a grocery store is loaded with maltodextrin, which inside your body, if you're a poor insulin regulator, if you're a person who struggles with weight gain, you struggle with maltodextrin because your body thinks it's sugar. So I used to drink some of these other ones and have blood sugar issues, even though they're sugar-free, because of the loaded maltodextrin in there and having an insulin response to that. Another problem with the name brands and some of the big guys is that they use citric acid. And people who struggle with inflammation, autoimmunity, anybody who's got any stomach sensitivities, any food sensitivities, you are likely to struggle with citric acid. And you can't pinpoint what exactly is causing you an issue, but it is often the citric acid. And the big guys use citric acid. Salty by Keto Chow, SALTT, they do not use maltodextrin and they do not use citric acid. So I do not have any problem. I bought 2 40-ounce bottles. I like the thermal flask. I get a 2-pack on Amazon, which is in my favorite store if you need help finding it, but a 2-pack because then you can clean one and still have the other one ready to go. And then I know if I fill both of my 2-packs up that I've drinking my 80 ounces a day. For me, the perfect salty blend is I put 1 packet in my 40 ounces. For some people, that's going to be too strong. For some people, that's going to be too weak. But that's my perfect one. Ice, water, Coco Loco. And I've been telling people about this and they're like, chocolate water? Like, that sounds disgusting. It's amazing on ice. It's also amazing hot if you're trying to kick the coffee and you're getting your electrolytes in. I recently had my blood work done with my chronic illness doctor, and he saw that my diuretic hormones are still in the tank, meaning I struggle to keep hydrated. However, the lab that shows whether or not I was hydrated was in the good range. So despite having my autoimmune conditions kicking all my electrolytes and fluid out, I have been able to keep hydrated with salty in my water. So it really makes a difference to be sure you are drinking at least 80 ounces of water, if not more, and adding those electrolytes. If you're a person who just doesn't like to buy electrolytes, you could put salt in your water and let it sit overnight. But if you use my link down below, you can save 10%. And I highly recommend the Coco Loco. There's a brand new flavor coming out. And I don't know when this video is coming out, so I'm not going to say what the flavor is, but the brand new flavor is so delicious. So Salty by Keto Chow, I highly recommend. Okay. Again, to stay motivated, I highly suggest that people join a group. It will keep you on track, make sure you're doing the lifestyle things, and give you hope. There's so many days where we dip off. I know I find myself when I'm diverting off of plan, it's usually when I'm not tapping in. It's when I'm isolating. That's when I fall off track and I feel a little bit of hopelessness and I feel, a lot of things. This journey with adding a GLP-1 is so intriguing because for the first time, you start having appropriate hormone responses to your food, to your brain and your pancreas. So I've seen a metabolic improvement where I'm no longer chronically gaining weight. Also, the signaling to the brain has been such a relief. I eat my meal, I move on with my life. I am not constantly fighting somebody telling me it's time to eat, even though I just ate. So along the journey, you actually start seeing better results for your work. Generally speaking, this has been true for a lot of people. They used to do all the things so perfectly, the sardines, the lion diet, the fasting, all the things, the portioning their food, the perfect exercise, tracking everything, the hamburger diet, all the different things they were doing. And they either saw very little for their reward, or shortly into seeing the movement started going right back up. So you're doing all the things, you see a 5-pound weight loss, and then your weight just starts coming back up. Your body starts fighting you. The food noise gets louder. For the first time, you can keep going, and it can keep going. An example for me, the first 20 pounds got me back to 160. Well, I had already been to 160, like 100 times it feels like, but never have I gone past 160 and kept going. High School, 165, Biggest Loser, 165, gastric bypass, 165. I hit those 160s and I start going back up. But knowing and seeing other people succeeding, I continued to go. And sometimes I took a break, and it wasn't like a perfect whoosh. Sometimes it was a ooh, 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 and then a down. It wasn't a perfect ski slope, but just continuing to go, having hope, being around other people who've combated it. It'll help you go forward as well. So for me, I hit the 160. I was like, is this going to work? And I cried. I had depression. I had to reach out to friends. I had to reach out to community at that time, because I was like, I don't know if this is going to keep working. So I kept going. Saw another, now I'm at the 150s. I've never been past the 150s. Is this going to keep working? In the 140s. And now I'm in the 130s. And I've literally in my life not been in the 130s since elementary school, you guys. This really can be an amazing ticket. So don't do it alone. Join the journey. The next thing is understand that this can be slow. Okay. You think you see people and it just feels like a blink of an eye and they lost all their weight. And then you go to do it yourself and it takes time and you see yourself stalling and you just wonder, is this really gonna work for me? And my advice is to keep doing the lifestyle things. Don't be perfect, but keep doing them. Keep tracking, keep at it, keep exercising, keep moving your body. Do not give up. It is so much slower in real life than it looks on TV. Okay. It's so much slower than you think it's going to be. And know that it is slow for just about everyone. It just doesn't feel it. And of course, we all see the stories of the person who lost all their weight in 2 months. That's all you ever see. And you go, oh, why can't I lose it? Of course, we all want to lose our weight in 2 months. But know too that the faster you do it, the more muscle you're losing, the more metabolic adaptation you're going to have, because your body catches on when you lose weight that fast. So just keep in mind, slow and steady wins the race, and it's okay. Okay. Let's see here. Know that it's okay if you don't feel anything right away. Like I was saying before, confusingly, you can start out and not feel much, but it is going to stack each week. It is important to really start low and go slow if you want to avoid side effects and if you don't want to burn your receptors out. And just know that you might not feel much for a little bit. Some people feel it the same day. That's not what happened to me. It was like 3 days at least. And then it wasn't like this big, amazing feeling. It was just there, and I saw all the other things. Some more reasons for joining community is at some point you're going to join maintenance. Then what do? You want to be around other people who are still making lifestyle changes to make this a lifetime thing. Other things you're going to have to deal with is actually getting rid of clothes. And that's a weird thing. Shrinking down sizes, dealing with the emotions too of when will I move down in size? I've lost 20 pounds, but I'm still wearing the same clothes. When are people going to notice when I'm losing weight? Somebody just told me I'm getting too skinny and this has never happened to me in my life. There's a lot more to deal with here. It's so different than almost anything else we've tried, because this one, so many people, like 95% of people or something, actually it moves them towards the goal line, where other things just weren't moving the needle because it wasn't addressing the underlying hormones that were not communicating, and this does. So it's kind of an exciting thing to picture that one day you are going to wake up and the first thing that doesn't come to mind is, today I'm going to beat obesity, because you're going to wake up having beaten it. And it's kind of an awesome thing. So yeah, those are my steps on how I would get started. I hope that this was helpful. Again, there's more information at radicallyhealthy.com. I hope we'll see you there on the free community where we're just having unfiltered conversation. I'm really excited for you to consider adding this tool, consider having this help that you didn't even know could exist. I am excited for you that you were open and minded enough to even look into it. And I wish you the best. If there's anything I can do to help you along your journey, at radicallyhealthy.com, there's a one-on-one section. You can book me there. And I'd be happy to help you any way I can based on my experience and based on seeing other people, and just give you some ideas for you to investigate and research and get on your path to feeling your absolute best. So I really appreciate you being here today. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and share this YouTube channel, please. I would love to grow this channel and get the message out to people that there are amazing lifestyle things we can do. There are amazing peptides we can work with, and that we do not have to give up. We are getting to a place these days that is just, it really effective. And it's very, very exciting. So thank you again for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. Bye.